What a Friday. What a couple of news dumps. It is the Locker Room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can hear me 10 to 2 Central. 10 to 2 Central. I'm going in the time zones like my guest does. 10 to 2 Central on Sports Radio 610 in the Odyssey app. My goodness. The Texans made a signing that I've been calling for a while. Robert Woods is officially a Houston Texan. And most importantly, the Carolina Panthers have traded for the first-round pick. We'll get into all that. That boy 55, didn't the OG Lopez want to get Bobby Trees? No, that was me, sir. Go back and look at the video. Let's be a little bit serious here. That was me. Come on. You think Lopez did that? Come on, that was me. But we'll get into that. But I'm going to welcome my guy, my friend, Mike Meltzer to the show. Meltz, what was your immediate reaction when you saw that the Carolina Panthers were trading up for the first pick? Because there's a lot of things that come to mind. It's officially official that the Texans are not going to have the first quarterback in this draft. So that was my first take. It's officially official. Like there's no, well, maybe Chicago this, maybe Chicago that. It's officially official. They're not going to be able to. They're not going to have the first quarterback in this thing.
My first reaction was big move by Carolina, and I was relieved, Landry, that it was not Indianapolis. I'm relieved that it was not Indianapolis to set up kind of a checker on a checker. We're never going to know who, the Panthers pick a quarterback versus what the Texans are thinking or who Indianapolis would have been thinking if they had moved up to number one. But honestly, the more I thought about it over the last 5 hours since I found out about the trade, Landry, I think the Texans are going to get away with that nonsense they pulled in Week 18. It's my biggest takeaway. I think they're going to get away with it.
I do too.
I think they're going to get away with it.
I do too, and this is why. And we got a lot of excitement in the chat. Get your question in. I'll mark it. We'll get this going because I believe wholeheartedly that the Colts wanted Bryce Young. Jim Irsay was not putting out some smoke screen. Jim Irsay is not smart enough to put out a smoke screen. He is an open guy with no filter. And when he said we like that guy out of Alabama, he was telling you the truth. Kevin Bowen believes that, who covers the team out there. I believe if Indianapolis had traded up, they were going to take Bryce Young. Carolina, on the other hand, it's been out for a while. Carolina, many people believe they like CJ Stroud. And don't take my word for it. Just look at the DraftKings Sportsbook odds. This was before the trade. The favorite to be the number one overall pick was Bryce Young at minus 160, which means you would have to bet $160 to win 100. So he is an overwhelming favorite, pretty decent favorite. CJ Stroud was plus 180, which means if you bet $100, you would win 180. So those are the odds right there. Bryce Young minus 160, CJ Stroud plus 180. About 425 today, when the trade was made. This is what the odds are now. Bryce Young is plus 350, and CJ Stroud is minus 425. So you would have to bet $425 to win 100. CJ Stroud is a strong favorite now to be that number one pick.
Well, this is why, Landry, I think today the Texans survived this for a couple of reasons. I think the Carolina Panthers traded up to draft CJ Stroud. And as much as I like Bryce Young and you like Bryce Young, I don't think a team is paying an extra first-round pick plus 2 twos and a burgeoning young player in DJ Moore to draft Bryce Young. I don't think a team was gonna trade this kind of draft haul to draft somebody who's 5'10" a quarterback. When they made this move, I thought to myself that CJ was probably the guy. And within about 20 or 30 minutes, having a chance to think about it, I thought they're going to draft CJ Stroud. And Landry, I don't have any proof of this. This is just my sense of things. I believe the Texans have Bryce Young rated over CJ Stroud. I think they would have been fine with either, I think because of this,
I think that's a smart guess. I think you're on the right track.
I think they're going to just sit there and end up with Bryce at number 2, which means everything that happened in Week 18 didn't cost them, because forget about what the Bears got in this trade. Landry, the Texans were never going to trade down from the number 1 pick. So they could have traded 5 first-round picks, 10, 15. That part of this meant nothing to Houston because they were never going to trade down. It was all about, did this remove the possibility to land your quarterback? And I don't think it did.
Here's the thing. Here's the other thing that I think is funny, and I think this is like another clue because we try to decipher these clues. All right. The biggest lie that I've heard that we will hear all draft season, maybe all off season, maybe all of 2023 is this notion. And Joe Person put it out and a lot of beat writers put it out. And obviously sometimes when something gets put out, it's because they want it to be out there, is that the Panthers are open for business.
Oh, God.
You're telling me that the Panthers are open for damn business whenever they're open for business when they traded all that? Like they just blindly traded so they could trade again? Here's why I think that even makes it more likely that Bryce Young is going to be the Texans guy, because the only reason that the Panthers would trade back, they would not trade with Indianapolis. Why would they do that? Because then there's 3 quarterbacks gone and they're not going to have a quarterback. That would just be stupid. Frank Reich should be fired before the season starts if that happens.
Yeah, why would you move down to 4? Makes no sense.
I think it's blatantly obvious to everyone that they like CJ Stroud. The Texans like Bryce Young, so now they're going to try to get it to where they can trade up 1 spot and maybe get like an extra 3rd or whatever, like the Trubisky thing, because that's the only thing they would do. They ain't trading back with Arizona to where there's 2 spots where there's going to be 2 quarterbacks off. So the only reason that that's even out there is A, it's an effing lie, and B, they want to trick the Texans into trading with them because they know that the Texans like Bryce and that they like CJ. Don't give me that they're open for business crap. That is ridiculous. The only reason they would put that out there is because they want to get the 1 spot trade with the Texans. I'm not buying that at all. That would be absolute asinine silliness.
What are they going to do? Take Bryce Young out of spite at number 1 just to try to, get the extra 3rd round pick or whatever? Like they traded up for, listen, if you had, theoretically there could have been rumors out there that like they loved Anthony Richardson. When you make this kind of move up the board, you're probably taking somebody who looks more like the prototype. And when I think about Frank Reich and I think about their team and how they've been going with bridge quarterbacks like the last 3 years, which hasn't made a whole lot of sense, you trade up for somebody who looks like CJ Stroud. 6'3", very good arm, accuracy is fairly elite, precision on the football. They're drafting CJ. You're not, this is not like, I never really bought into this idea a couple of years ago when San Francisco moved to 3 that like, oh, now we're going to figure out what we're going to do. Like you make, this is a franchise defining move. The fates of Frank Reich and Scott Fitterer and a whole lot of people in Carolina will come down to, was this the right decision for Carolina today? And the decision they made was to move up for CJ Stroud, which allows Houston to pick Bryce Young. I think it'll ultimately be that simple.
No doubt. And guys, get the comments in. This is an interactive thing. That's the whole point of this. That's why we have these 9 p.m. pop-ups. That's why we do this. That's why this is the top source for Texans digital content. If it's not topical, we'll mark it and we'll get to it later. If you have a comment on what we're talking about, we'll hit it as we go. So just get it in, man. I think Lamont said on the comments that the Colts must have fallen in love with someone at the combine. That would have to be CJ. Like Bryce didn't throw. Or the Panthers.
This was a bad day
at the combine.
Landry, this is a bad day for Indianapolis. If I'm in Indianapolis and I'm doing a show on Monday,
they're screwed now. They're screwed.
Landry, if I'm hosting a show in Indianapolis, you know what? One of my leading topics on Monday is we got to get in on the Lamar sweepstakes. We got to make a move for Lamar. Because if we're drafting the 3rd best quarterback at best in this draft, or
and the 3rd, and let's be honest, let's be real. Like, no matter how you feel, I think we can all agree. Like, and there's quarterbacks make jackasses of all of us. Like, so don't get this twisted, but there's a big gap. At least there's a little more risk in quarterback 3 and 4 from 1 and 2, and we can all agree, regardless, that Bryce and CJ are 1 and 2. After that, I agree. There's a big rolling of the dice there.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, maybe the Colts like Will Levis a lot or like Anthony Richardson. If they like both, I guess they can be satisfied that like, okay, based on the math, they'll end up with one.
I think 3 quarterbacks. I think it's going to be 3 quarterbacks immediately because I think Arizona's trading. Or,
I
maybe
agree.
Arizona stays, but there could be there's a chance that Arizona. at the very least, the Colts, they need to be figuring out, like, if Arizona is obsessed with either Anderson or Carter, then they need to get on the phone with the Colts and say, hey, like, seriously, what is it going to take? If you like that guy, just let us get up there.
But Landry, the point though is, if you're Indianapolis, the only way, and I mean the only way this day was not a total disaster, the only way is if they really like both Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. That's it. That's the only way this day is not a disaster for Indianapolis. Otherwise, they have to do something. They got to move to 3. They got to think about Lamar. Like, they have to think about these things. That's the only way it's not a disastrous day for them. The only way.
They're in a tough spot, man.
Yes.
They're in a tough
Unless
spot.
they like both of those quarterbacks. It's the only way.
And let's pretend the Texans don't like Bryce. Like, if that's the case, then the Texans need to they either need to take Will Anderson, they need to take Carter, they need to trade back. I mean, that's it. But I'm not just like pulling it out of my ass. I believe that they like Bryce.
I agree.
Like Bryce. I think they've made it very, very, very clear. Indianapolis is in a weird spot, and it's kind of deja vu, though. It's kind of deja vu.
They deserve this after Manning, Andrew Luck. I'm not going to be feeling bad for Indianapolis.
No, I don't feel bad for them at all. I mean, that's for damn sure. And quite honestly, they shouldn't even be at 4.
They should not be at 4. They blew the Texans game. They blew that Vikings game. They should be picking like 9th in this draft. It's ridiculous. This is a funny comment, by the way. This kind of came out of nowhere.
What happened?
This Lonnie Johnson thing. Did you see that?
No. I don't even, like, Lonnie Johnson doesn't come across my timeline.
Nor should he. He somehow came across mine. He quote tweeted somebody who talked about, like, hey, what if, like, imagine Lonnie Johnson back in Houston under DeMeco Ryans.
Had to have been trying to be funny.
I mean, I don't know.
Man,
like what is DeMeco, some sort of miracle worker? He's going to turn underachieving players.
Problem with like guys like Lonnie Johnson talking so much crap. It was like, dude, you might need a job someday, sir.
Yes, especially at your level.
Like, you're
absolutely.
not Deshaun Watson.
Yes,
you're not Deshaun Watson. So if Bryce Young, so you get Bryce Young at 2, and then you're looking at 12.
Yep.
My dream now is that at 12, I actually think the other dream that I have, because I'm starting to get greedy now. I'm starting to get really greedy now.
Okay.
I want Smith and Jigba badly. Badly. Like, that is my guy. I could see Tennessee maybe looking at Smith and Jigba. Even with Robert Woods, I still think Smith and Jigba would be a good pick there. I think Bijan would be as well. But I think now that they got DJ Moore, I think Chicago drafting Smith and Jigba is eliminated. I was a little bit concerned there because I think Smith and Jigba would have been their guy. Justin Fields has been politicking for him.
I mean, they could go that way anyway. I only mentioned that
because Smith and Jigba too.
No, sorry. I meant I'm looking at an updated mock draft from CBS Sports, and they actually have the Bears at 9 picking Smith and Jigba, which seems a little high to me, just a little bit.
I mean, he's going in that range. He's going top 15.
Yeah, I think he is too. I agree. So who do you think are the teams that are most likely for Smith and Jigba?
Tennessee.
Yeah. I mean, they'll need help at tackle as well.
Maybe Chicago. Yeah, Tennessee needs basically everything. They've basically stripped everything.
Yeah, and then he's obviously, it's not just the teams that are picking, but teams that are ripe for trade-ups as well, which could factor in there. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to the idea. Like, do I get a little worried about, it's not a ton of production other than the 1 year at Ohio State a little bit. But, I mean, he, up until the first game of his junior season, he was terrific.
He's the truth. 100%. So the Bryce thing is alive and well. The Indianapolis Colts are in a tough spot.
Those betting odds, like, if you think that Bryce Young's going to go number 1, like, if you actually believe that tonight, and I mean, this is not a bad night. You should bet on it. Yeah, you should bet on it. You're getting great value for it.
It ain't going down like that, like to where you're getting like minus the damn near like over minus 400 for CJ. It's not. That's not an accident. That's not gonna.
You like could throw 25 bucks
every
and
once
get
in a while,
good value.
You're talking like minus 425 and stuff. Like That's not an accident. Now,
Yes.
people are asking, like, could they take AR-15? Hell no. Like,
Well, I mean, they
I see
could,
no
but
chance that happens.
That's the one thing. That's the only thing, Landry, that would have made
There's
this
no
day
way.
even better.
There's
That's
no
the
way.
only thing that could have made this day even better if they were trading up for Anthony Richardson. That would have made this day perfect.
No, because then CJ could go to the Colts, and you don't want that. The Colts could
That's
just
a
trade
good
up,
point. Yeah,
because the
that
Colts
is
could trade
true.
up with Arizona in one spot, and then they would get
That's
that.
fair.
Like, if you think that the Colts are, you don't want them to have one of your top two guys, and this is perfect. Perez88 said it makes a lot of sense. These guys, they're going after CJ. I would be shocked if they get Bryce, but ish can change in time. But if you don't like the trade, unless you know your guy is India screwed. This notion that Carolina doesn't know who they want, I think is silly too. I heard Harris talking about it today. By the way, he was really good today on Sports Radio 610. But I don't think you trade up there without knowing who your guy is. Like, it's not an either or type of thing. I think they still go through the process. They show up to the pro days, but they know who they want. Like, they know who their guy is. And Carolina went up and did it. And the theory came true that you wanted the team to go ahead and make the move now so that you know what's going on in free agency.
Which I think is fair. I just, when you look at this compensation, you give up the number 9 pick, obviously, the late second round pick, your first round pick next year, plus a second round pick in 2025. You're not making that kind of an investment unless you know exactly who you're going to get. And you know what? I got to do a mea culpa on this. I've been a little annoyed and perturbed, Landry, at Ryan Poles in Chicago, who was doing interviews with Peter King, Albert Breer on Monday. Cocky, saying, I've got 2 first-round picks. I can definitely get 2 extra first-rounders. He didn't quite get that, although I think it's fair to say 2 second-round picks plus DJ Moore might be the equivalent. I was wrong about Ryan Poles. I thought he was coming across like somebody who was a little too desperate to sell something that I felt like he was overhyping. He got a really good deal. Now, he's got to cash in the assets and draft good players in those spots. We know this. This is obvious. But I was wrong about Ryan Poles. I was wrong about that guy. He made a heck of a deal for Chicago.
Yeah, you jump from 9 to 1. You know what you're doing. Like, it's not a blunt. Brown Chubby Bear is the official active man on Texans Twitter, banned from Texans Reddit. He said that the Colts with Shane and AR-15 is going to be dangerous. Why do you think they'll be screwed? I think Shane Steichen did a good job with Jalen Hurts. I think there's a lot of factors that could have come into play. There was a lot of talent around him and stuff. I just don't think Anthony Richardson's going to be good. I know a lot of people do. They like his 40 and stuff. We're comparing him to Josh Allen. We're comparing him to Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts went back to school at Oklahoma. He completed 70% of his passes. He was the Heisman runner-up. Josh Allen even stayed an extra year at Wyoming. I think Anthony Richardson's too raw. I don't think he's going to be good in the NFL. So, I mean, could it be dangerous? I mean, I think that might be his best chance for success, but I don't even think the Colts have the balls to do that. I would love for it. Honestly, I know Irsay can handle the private jet. Dead serious. I'll tell him on Twitter, I'll pay for the limo to the press conference. Like, I'm dead serious. I will pay for the limo to the press conference if they draft Anthony Richardson. I was definitely going to do it if they would have traded up to 1 and drafted Anthony Richardson. But if the Colts draft Anthony Richardson, I'll pay for the limo. Because there's other things that people aren't talking about with Anthony Richardson. The dude, he has the durability issues.
Yeah, he has.
He had a knee surgery. He had a knee surgery. He missed multiple games with a hamstring. He had a concussion. He hurt his leg dancing on a Friday night the day before a game after he got cleared from the concussion and missed the game. He literally missed the game because he was dancing.
Is there a team that you would like as a Richardson fit? Because obviously there's a huge team
where he doesn't have to play.
Well, that's my thing. That's been my thought with Richardson the whole time. I actually like him as a prospect because the talent is rare. But if I'm taking Richardson, I would actively want him not to play in 2023. I would want to see him on the field for the first time week 1, 2024. I would want to put this guy on ice, have him work out all the kinks in practice for a full year before I saw him.
Yeah, and I don't even think that's a guarantee. Like, we act like potential can be unlocked no matter what. Sometimes potential just stays there forever.
It's playing the odds. It's simply playing the odds. You're banking on traits. You're banking on your head coach, offensive coordinator developing somebody.
And Mon says, what about the Texans trading down to 4? If the Texans trade with the
Why?
Colts so that they can go get Bryce Young, Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans both need to be fired.
Why would they do that? Why would they do such a thing?
They wouldn't even trade within the division with Deshaun. They wouldn't even trade Deshaun to the Colts. Remember? Like they said, It wasn't even an option.
Indianapolis was interested in Deshaun. Little known fact.
If man, that would be, you want to talk about because I think it would take a lot, with how people feel right now, like the trust issues have just gone up. If the Texans just decided, with all these vibes, if Commissioner Goodell goes up there and announces CJ Stroud as the first pick, and then everyone's starting like a Bryce Young chant at the Texans draft party, and then all of a sudden Goodell goes up there and goes, "We have a trade. The Indianapolis Colts have sent a first-round pick in 2024 and pick number 4 and a second-round pick this year to the Houston Texans. With the second pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Bryce Young, quarterback, Alabama." That would kill you might as well rehire Easterby if you do that.
Accurate.
You might as well rehire Easterby, get Bill O'Brien, trade number 12 for Bill O'Brien. Bring him back. Trade New England to number 12 and just go ahead and say screw everything if they did that.
That's not going to happen. What do you think the reaction was at NRG Stadium when all this went down today at 4 Central? I think they were cool with it. I think they want Bryce. They have Bryce rated over CJ. I think the Panthers are going up for CJ Stroud, and I think they're just kind of chilling at number 2.
Yeah, I think they want CJ. I've heard this, I've heard
being Carolina
stuff. It almost seems like they're not even mentioning Bryce
for Carolina. Yeah,
but because you think about who did Frank Reich have a crush on? Who was Frank Reich's guys when he was a quarterback? His guy was Carson Wentz. He liked Carson Wentz. That was his dude. So who's the closest to Carson Wentz? It's definitely Bryce. Big, strong.
CJ.
Oh, yeah.
You're getting it confused. It's a Friday night. CJ. Yeah, he's tall. And Daniel Jeremiah pointed out on Twitter last Saturday that to him, CJ had one of the best throwing sessions at the combine he's ever seen. And, I kind of I mentioned this to you in one of these a few weeks ago. What if Ohio State had beaten, I asked the question rhetorically, what if Ohio State had knocked in that field goal, beaten Georgia? Wouldn't Stroud be the obvious number 1 pick?
Why?
Well,
why would that change it?
I just think that there's a framing effect.
What if Alabama had made their field goal against Tennessee?
Maybe that helps Bryce. Who knows? Maybe it helps Bryce. But now I think CJ is going to be the number 1 pick. I think people look at it and it's he played the great game against Georgia. And the old adage in scouting is if you can do it once, you can do it again. And he was arguably the best player on that field. He lost to Michigan a couple times, but there are other issues. Their defense kind of melted down in those games. He's really accurate. They say you can't typically teach that. He's got a good arm. He feels like a guy who has a pretty high floor as far as these things go.
Mike says that Will Levis accuracy at or behind the line of scrimmage was better this year than Bryce Young. What are these stats that everyone's making up for Will Levis and Anthony Richardson? I saw some stat the other day. I appreciate you for hopping through, Mike. It's all in fun. But I saw some stat the other day that adjusted Anthony Richardson's completion percentage to 71% or something. And I was what in the hell are we doing here? What is this? What is this? If they draft Will Levis, man, I'm gonna have to evaluate things. I'm gonna have to evaluate some things here.
He just did not have a strong season. I understand there were reasons for it. They lost, Wan'Dale Robinson and Chris Rodriguez was hurt, but if I'm drafting somebody this high, and plus he's 23 years old, which makes me nervous as well as far as age of prospects. I can't be comfortable drafting this guy because he wasn't that good when he played. He wasn't that good when he played. At least with Richardson, I can give the excuse that new coach, super young, not a lot of experience. I don't think Will Levis has those kind of excuses. I need you to play well. Bryce Young played very well. CJ Stroud always played pretty well. Not the case for Will Levis.
Herman Benitez asks, Landry, why do you constantly blame Caserio for the Texans winning the last game? Bryce Young to Texans, let's go. Man, I've made this very clear. Like, this has not been a mystery. If you listen to any of these, if you listen to the show, I said it the week of. I said it as soon as they didn't trade Cooks. He shouldn't be active. Like, you're going to trade him. You don't want him to get hurt. His trade value isn't going to jump. Like, Brandon Cooks playing good against the Titans and playing good against the Colts, it's not like his trade value jumped up. Like, it's not like anyone's like, oh, wow, did you see that Indy game? You know what? I'm going to give you a second and a fourth for Brandon Cooks. Like, you gain nothing by it, and he shouldn't have been active. Like, you don't tell Lovie Smith to lose. He shouldn't have been active. That's why I blame Caserio for it, because he didn't handle that. Now, it's not like go tell Lovie to lose. Why do you think they held out Stingley and Dameon Pierce? You think if they'd been competing for a wild card spot, they would have done that? No. Brandon Cooks should not have played. So that's why I blame Caserio for that. Now, maybe it worked out and they get their guy.
I still don't get the 2-point conversion. The 2-point conversion kills me.
Lovie said he played to win, except when he didn't. He didn't.
If they had Deshaun Watson and they were going for a playoff spot and they just scored a touchdown on that play, do you think they'd be going for 2? Like, if that game actually meant something.
No, I didn't. He punted, bro. What do you think?
Yeah, he did.
He punted, bro. What do you think, sir? He punted.
Yes.
He freaking punted. And I was fine with it. I was okay with it. I didn't even criticize it. It's okay. But then you do that. But honestly, though, you do also got to look at it from Lovey's POV, because I like looking at it from everyone's POV. Like, let's be honest. You would kind of want to stick the middle finger up to them, too, because you know you're gone. It's your final game.
Fair.
Like, why not? You know you're done.
Why not?
You know you're done. You know what I mean?
And it could work out. It could work out okay for them. I think it's going to work out okay.
That sucked. Because you felt so dirty. Like, watching that game, you felt so ratchet and dirty because you were like, I'm rooting for the Colts to beat the Texans.
It was one of the weirdest games I have watched.
You got so into it, and even the announcers are like saying it, and then you're like, God.
I actually think Brandon Cooks has decent value because
what is decent value? What is decent value?
Dude, I wonder, Landry, if they can get a 3. I doubt it, but I wonder because there are barely any receivers available in free agency. It's a weak wide receiver class as far as the draft goes. There just aren't. If a team wants to upgrade their receivers for their quarterback, there aren't a lot of options this year. That's why I wonder if they can get more than we think for Cooks.
The market sucks, and that's part of the reason that I wanted. That's part of the reason I wanted Robert Woods. And if you look in the description here, I laid out. It's a nice little 6-minute video of why I think Robert Woods was a good fit, which is the other big news today. So, the Texans sign Robert Woods. It's a 2-year deal worth $15.25 million. $10 million is guaranteed. My dumbass put a comma there instead of a 0.25. It's not 15.25. It's $15.25 million. But it's you're basically getting him for 2 years for 1 year of what Brandon Cooks costs. Now, is he as good of a player as Brandon Cooks? Probably not. But the thing about Robert Woods that I like, there's a couple of things. First of all, he played every game last year. So the first question that people are going to have is, well, you know, he tore his ACL. Can he stay healthy? Played every game last year. All of his stats would have been top 2 on the Texans in receiving. And they played 5 games with Malik Willis, and they played 5 games and without Ryan Tannehill. Malik Willis threw for like 40 yards in one game, and he was terrible. So he played every game last year. He's in this system. The one thing about Robert Woods that is good is that he's kind of a dump-off guy. You know, the dump-off guys that D'Amico Ryans talked about, that get it to him, you know, the dump-off options. Yes. That's what Robert Woods does. And if you just do these head-to-head comparisons, I'm not saying they're the end-all, be-all, but let's just do the head-to-head comparisons of Woods and Cooks when they were together in L.A. And by the way, the Rams chose to pay Woods, and they chose to say goodbye to Brandon Cooks. In 2018, both played 16 games. Woods had 86 catches. Cooks had 80. Woods had 1,219 yards. Cooks had 1,204, and Woods had 6 touchdowns. Cooks had 5. So Woods was on top in every category. 2019, Woods played 15 games. Cooks played 14. 90 catches to 42, 1,134 yards to 583, and then 2 touchdowns each. So Woods had 1 more game played, 34 more receptions, 566 yards, and one more touchdown than Cooks the 2 years they played together. He's not better than Brandon Cooks. That's why you're getting him at the price you're getting him at, but he's a system fit. Would you rather pay Robert Woods $10 million this year to be like a leader on the team, or would you rather pay Jacoby Myers $18 million a year or whatever the hell that is going to happen there?
Yeah.
And especially, and you don't know what Jacoby's like in this system. Like Robert Woods, I know it's kind of he knows the system. Like that was old with the BOB thing, but this is like a system where they want to dump it down to you. Like the Robert Woods is perfect at like the dump down, the check down, the reverse, all that kind of crap. And he played all those games. So I think Woods, like where would Woods be in this free agent market of receivers? Like he would be like somewhere between DJ Chark and Jacoby Myers.
Well, I think probably lower than that.
Lower than Chark?
Lower than which one?
Lower than DJ
Chark? Yeah,
Chark?
I think lower because of age. He's been around for 10 years. Chark's younger substantially. I was trying to look at
10 effing years.
I know. I was trying to look at contract comps at $7.5 million a year. It's not really easy to find because, a lot of rookies are in this mix. Like Cedric Wilson, I guess, signed a similar deal. Here's my take. I'm okay with the Woods signing. I would have felt better about it last year, and then he kind of had a disappointing season in Tennessee. It strikes me as a little bit rich. I'm intrigued that they signed him before free agency begins in 5 days, but I will live with it. I'd much prefer if Robert Woods was the number 3 versus the number 2 receiver, is my take on it.
I said Wood is good. Wood is good. Yes, it is. Is Woods any good? He's better. He's better than anything you got.
He's better than most of the options that you have.
You didn't give him a big deal.
It's not a big deal, but it is $10 million guaranteed. So it is some change. He's a good blocker. He's known as a good route runner.
You also have a bunch of rookies on rookie deals, so you can overpay. That's the other
you can
thing
overpay it a little bit.
You're going to have a lot of guys on rookie contracts.
Yes.
He played every game last year, correct?
Yes, he did.
He played every game last year. He's a veteran.
They've obviously scouted him. They played him twice last year, so they're very familiar.
Yeah, I think he's great. I think he's great for this.
I'm okay with the signing. I'm not thrilled with it, but I'm reluctantly okay with it.
I'm okay with it based on what the options were. Now that we've had a few questions, and I am marking these questions just so you know. Like when if it's not topical, if you have a question and it's off topic, we get to those at the end. So we do interact on here, so don't worry about all that. But the other thing is, I don't think this impacts anything in the draft. Like some people are saying, well, does this impact a receiver? No, I think they need to take a receiver probably at 12, definitely in the first 30, in the first 33 picks, like with one of their first 3 picks. They absolutely have to take a receiver. And there is a lot of opportunity for receivers from like the 12 to 33 range.
I'm kind of the mindset that if it's not Jackson Smith and Jigma, I'm content to wait until 33. I don't know if there's a huge difference between these guys.
Well, that's where, like, if you're talking 33, then you're talking about like Boutte out of LSU. What's up with him? Like, no one says anything about him.
That guy's not getting it.
Like, what happened?
That dude, he's a mess. He's not getting anywhere near NRG Stadium. That's not going to happen.
Okay, like, what is the deal? Okay, well, then you're talking, if Mims from OU is there at 33, run up there. I think he's a stud. If Caleb Williams had stayed at Oklahoma, I think Mims is an All-American. And we're talking a lot better about him. So you could look at Mims. Hyatt could fall to 33 out of Tennessee. A lot of people like him. Like there's a lot of receivers, a lot of options. And also we got to look at tight ends too. Tight ends right there. Use a couple of those threes, jump up there, be able to run there.
A lot of talented tight ends in this draft. It is an excellent tight end draft. Excellent tight end draft. The dream would be for me.
If it wasn't obvious Cooks is a goner before, it is now with Woods here. I would say it was obvious before.
Probably, yeah.
It's done. That's what McClain told me. Because McClain
he said it's done?
He argued with me on the air that he could possibly be back. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, how could they keep their head up when he basically blackmailed them? And all of a sudden he's going to come back. You know, McClain comes in sometimes on the wrong side of the bed.
Yes. Oh, I know.
And I was like, And then he texted me after the show. He's like, "Yeah, you're right. Cooks is gone." And I was like,
That could happen. Yeah, he's probably gone. Yes. And again, I think it's not a bad time to trade him because of the market we were just talking about.
Pre-draft and post-Cooks trade, Woods will be the best receiver on the team. We still have no idea how much he will be, so I'm cool with it. I wanted Jacoby. Man, I don't want to pay Jacoby $15 or $15 million. Excuse me, not $15.
That's the problem. I think Jacoby Myers is a nice player. He's worked hard. He finally got his touchdown, whatever. Like, good hands, good route runner. But do I want to pay this guy the amount of money that some of these guys are making, like 17, 16, like that? That just
like, do you think here's what you have to say when you ask those questions, especially when there's kind of a tax if you're a bad team. And by the way, Joshua, yes, I did do a video about Robert Woods because I know this effing team. I did it 2 weeks ago. But here's the toot. Here's the thing you have to ask yourself if you're going to do that. How desperate are you? And do you think he could be like Christian Kirk? Like, do you think that he could be a guy who
he's not that kind of talent?
Exactly. So that the answer to that is no. Then for me,
Kirk, I didn't mind the Kirk thing, even though
because there was a Jags tax.
There was, but my thought was the dude was a huge recruit out of high school. He played at A&M. He was always kind of, I thought, underachieving in Arizona, whose system I didn't really believe in. You like the speed. He had the talent. Like, Myers is more of like he's a nice NFL receiver. I think Kirk was more, okay, there's some untapped potential here if you get him in the right situation. That's the difference.
Yeah, there's untapped potential for sure. But is there with Jacoby? No.
Yeah, not as much. No.
Not at all. Not at all. If we're getting a wide receiver, I would try to move back to 12 to get another day 2 pick. We're talking about trading now. What are we doing?
Yeah, to me, if Jackson Smith and Jigba is there, that's a very viable option. If not, I would look elsewhere for a receiver.
Put some respect on that man's name. It's not viable, it's elite. Jackson Smith and Jigba is the dude. That's Jamar Chase 2.0 right there.
But can he play on the outside like Chase
he can
does?
Play on the outside. I'm tired of people saying that.
He's not as big as Chase is.
He's 6 foot. That's that same height as Jamar Chase.
I feel like Chase is bigger.
No. Here's the reason why Jackson Smith and Jigba look small, because he's standing next to Marvin freaking Harrison and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and all these guys. Here's the thing.
Well,
if you're at Ohio State and every time you step on the field, you have Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave and Marvin Harrison with you, and you're elite in the slot, why would they put you anywhere else? Like, if you watch his high school highlights, like he's mossing folks on the outside. Like, go watch his Rockwall where he had 6 touchdowns. By the way, they wear orange uniforms. They're called the Yellow Jackets. How about that? That's crazy.
Interesting. But it's news you can use right there.
News you can use right there. I used to sling fireworks out there in Rockwall, 15 years. But
we didn't get a chance to see him play on the outside, which he would have this season. At least
why
much
would
more.
He have?
Yeah, with Olave and Wilson there, why would they have put him there in 2021? Yes,
but I mean, he can do everything. He can do everything. He's 6 foot tall. People are talking about him like he's 5'9", 6 foot tall. He's the same size as Jamar Chase. Yeah,
it's
your
so
mind's
weird
blown right now, isn't it? Your mind's blown right now, isn't it?
No, yeah, you're literally correct. And yet when I visualize Jamar Chase on the field, maybe it's the combination of his speed and his just athletic ability and his vertical leap, but he plays bigger than his size.
No, he does, and he's a lot more explosive, but Smith and Jigba is a lot more smooth. Like, Smith and Jigba is just smooth. Like, everything is smooth, and when you're that smooth with your routes, you don't have to be as explosive.
Yeah, I mean, this is one, you don't have to sell me too hard on this. Draft the quarterback at 2. I think it's going to be Bryce. Pair him with Smith and Jigba. If he's there at 12, I'm sold.
Oh, yeah, we got 545 in. Subscribe, like when you leave. It helps the algorithm, as Cap would say. Like, subscribe, get on. Ride along with me. This is an everyday thing. This is an everyday thing. The pop-up lives, we're gonna get those, they pop up 3-5 times a week. By the way, tomorrow, special edition, 4:00. We have a GOAT joining the show. And I'm not talking football with him. I'm gonna try to make him feel as uncomfortable as possible. John Weeks is hopping on with me tomorrow.
Wow.
4:00. John Weeks, my guy.
That's exciting.
Once gave me his grill to give away to listeners. My guy, John Weeks.
Tremendous.
Tomorrow, 4:00. Jack brought up Gibbs at 33. How do you feel about Gibbs?
I'm fine with that as well. I mean, I don't think they're going to go offense 1, 2, 3 is my guess. But yeah, he's a really talented receiver out of the backfield. He can do a whole lot.
How do you feel about Bijan at 12? That's one of the most popular topics. I don't understand the disdain for having two great running backs. I just don't understand the disdain. I also think you can use him in the slot. Sark didn't do it very well. When he lined up, the quarterbacks didn't hit him. Bijan Robinson, don't even know if he'll be there at 12. Hell, Tennessee might take him. Tennessee might you know what? Derrick Henry's about to get traded. We're just going to take Bijan. We're going to revamp our offense, and we're going to have a two-headed monster, and we're going to pass the torch.
So here's the thing. I think Bijan's excellent. I think he's a tremendous player. I think he's probably one of the 5 best players in this draft. But it comes back to when you're a bad football team, when you're rebuilding, the differential between a possible top running back like this and like the average NFL running back, I just don't know if it's enough as the Houston Texans to use the number 12 pick overall versus on a premium position, whether it's a skill guy, whether it's a guy off the edge, whether it's a guy to beef up either line. For me, it's a little bit of a tough sell, I think. Little bit of a tough sell. Where they are. Yes. And this is nothing against the player at all.
Pick, though. Like, that's the thing. Like, when it's an extra pick, like, why did Jacksonville take Travis Etienne?
Well, I don't know if they have the luxury to look at this like, oh, this is an extra pick. Like, the Eagles have that luxury. They got the extra pick.
They just need to get as much BDE on this team as they can. That's what they need. They need as much alpha male energy beast as they can on this team, and then they can figure it out. Like, they don't need to try to like fit, we need this, we need that. They just need as many badasses as possible.
I still need to be sold on this. I mean, what Daniel Jeremiah was on McAfee, and he was asked about Bijan, and his point was like, if you're a bad football team, you wonder like, these running backs only have so many carries in their bodies. Do you feel if you're a bad football team... Did the Giants
make a mistake taking Saquon?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But Landry, keep in mind a couple of things.
That's a tough crowd right there.
Landry, first of all, he's had, 2 good years in the NFL? And think about what they paid him. Like, the great thing about, let's say, taking Bryce Young at number 2 if he works out is that you're paying him basically nothing for 4 years. You draft a running back where they took him, and you're like, he's had 2 really high-level seasons. Look it up. Literally, he's rushed for over 1,000 yards 3 times, but the second year he missed 3 games, and it was 1,003 yards, which is basically nothing. Like, Saquon's had 2 very good seasons out of 5, and they paid him top of the market because he was the number 2 pick, and nobody pays these guys. Yes, it was a bad pick.
You hate running backs, dude. I got you.
Well, it's not. I can see it because
I just hate how running backs get treated. Like
I know they need their own union.
No, because anytime there's a mistake on a running back, it's you. That's why you don't draft a running back. But if a quarterback's a bust, if a tackle's a bust, if a corner's a bust, we never say that. Like the Chiefs drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he was a bust. If they would have taken Jonathan Taylor, we would have never said, that's why you don't take a running back. They're in their prime immediately. You get 3-4 years out of them.
But
you need multiple backs.
But here's the difference. Like the Chiefs used that pick on Edwards-Helaire. Then in the Super Bowl, where the running game was actually a huge part of why they won the game, they're using a bunch of guys who they would like sign or trade and use way less of an asset for and actually got more production. Like that's the whole thing with the running back. It's not that Saquon Barkley is an incredible talent, as is Bijan Robinson, but it's that these teams are able to find running backs and get good production without investing as much. That's the thing. That's the differential.
Well, then tell me this. Gridiron Takeover Landry, would you like it if the Texans signed James Robinson? Hell no. Like, no. not even a little. No. But appreciate the question, though, sir. This is the thing, though. Like, it's just because there's more of them that play. So of course, like you need more running backs. Like 3 running backs are going to contribute. There's some games where there's some big games where 4 running backs contribute. Like the New England Patriots had a playoff game, I think, against Kansas City. I think it was in 2018, the AFC Championship game where I think Sony Michel, who by the way, they drafted in the first round,
Also a mistake. Yes.
Sony Michel had 100 yards. Rex Burkhead scored a touchdown, and I think James White scored a touchdown or contributed. So, like, they play a lot. So, of course, we're going to be able to point to some example and say, oh, yeah, you take this running back late and you found it. But here's the thing. Why is it that San Francisco, and we always use like San Francisco as this example, why is it that San Francisco finds Elijah Mitchell and they have all these other running backs, yet they still traded half a draft for Christian McCaffrey?
Well, that was a unique
situation.
Why
would that happen?
That was a unique situation.
What do you mean it was a unique situation? They
special
gave
talent,
half a draft.
Special talent, and they lost their quarterback.
What is Bijan Robinson? You just said he was a special talent.
I agree. Yes. But so it would scare me.
So why are we
Landry,
doing him?
But here's why. Because just like we were talking about Anthony Richardson 30 minutes ago, just because I like a player doesn't mean I like him equally for every single team. So I might like Bijan Robinson more for the Eagles at 10 versus the Texans at 12 because of the different positions the franchises are in. Same player, but it doesn't mean they have the same exact value. Listen, there's a benefit to drafting Bijan Robinson, which is basically your offense has sucked the last couple of years. You draft him, you can play him on all three downs, play him with Pierce. He gives you a really viable option to provide instant offense. I get that. But I just worry about the long term. This team needs some building blocks at the premium positions that right now I have some question marks about. That's why. I have no questions about his talent.
I don't know what guy's talking about. He says, I don't want a running back with a raccoon on his head. You must not want Derrick Henry then. Like, if you're talking about like the hair, like what kind of stupid crap is that? Hell out of here with that, sir. But I just don't understand. I just don't understand your reasoning. Like, I don't get it. Like, you know what?
But Landry,
Mike, that's
where does the NFL
when people go, well, they're not a quarterback away. You ever hear someone? I heard it today when Harris had the lines open and I was driving in. Someone was like, they're not a quarterback away. We got to build a team first before we get a quarterback. First of all,
my thoughts on that. That's asinine. That's ridiculous.
People assume that like there's like some sort of like, well, you can just get a quarterback whenever you're ready. Like you can just set it up. Well, okay, now I'm ready. I'll take my quarterback. Ask Indianapolis how that works. Second of all, they're not in anything away. So like if you're going by that mindset, don't draft anything. Just forfeit all your picks. But this Bijan thing, you're crazy with this.
Let me ask you this, though. 20 years ago, Bijan Robinson would have been a top 5 pick in the draft, correct?
Correct.
That's not the Mike Meltzer opinion. That's the NFL's opinion. So what changed with the NFL that now Bijan Robinson is going to be somewhere in the top 15, we think, versus a lock to be a top 5 pick 20 years ago?
It's because the position has been devalued, but I think it's been devalued at such an extreme rate that now all of a sudden guys like Bijan Robinson should not fall down to 12. Like it shouldn't even be an option. Like this should not even be a discussion. It should be Bijan Robinson's going top 10, and if you want to get Bijan Robinson, you have to trade up. I think they've started devaluing them. I'm not giving running backs like second contracts. Like it's very, very rare, but they have the biggest impact on your team. They're immediately in their prime. The learning curve is less, and they can impact other things. They can make your defense better because they're keeping the defense on the sidelines. They can make your passing game better. They can make everything better on your football team, and you need a lot of them. Like you need multiple running backs. So that's why. Like I feel like we've gone through too much of an extreme. Like we have like this, we use these examples because there's so many running backs on rosters. Like there's 4 active running backs. They get hurt often and it is scary and it's a dangerous position. But we sit here and we say, first of all, the top 8 rushers in the league, the average draft position was 28th. I think it was 28th or 29th. It was inside the first round. Like that was the average. There were 5 second-round picks, 3 first-round picks. But the running back position has just become so devalued that it's silly because you'll be like, well, this guy was drafted in the second round. You know what that means? Someone should have drafted his ass in the first. Like, Derrick Henry was a second round pick. And you know what? Someone probably should have drafted him in the top 20 and they'd probably be looking smart right now. Like just that. And that's because everyone has devalued the running back position. We shouldn't even be talking about Bijan Robinson being a possibility at 12. That's silly.
Do you think that Bijan Robinson could be as good as Adrian Peterson?
I'm not going to go that far. I mean, I like
Because
Bijan, but no, I'm not going to go that far.
I mean, that's like, because that's like high end, even in the modern NFL. If you knew that someone was going to be Adrian Peterson, that's a guy who is a top 5 pick. That's a high level though. That's obviously that's higher than, to me, like Derrick Henry or any of these guys. That's a special level.
Like even Gibbs is, and I'm not saying, like Derek says, are you saying you wouldn't sign Bijan to a second contract? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying a lot of times, it doesn't make sense to pay a running back a ton. And if you, my main point is, if you get 3 or 4 really good years out of a running back, then I feel like it justifies a first round pick to me with what they can do. Like if you get elite, like if Saquon Barkley had given you 3 elite years and then you'd said, like if the Carolina Panthers wouldn't have signed Christian McCaffrey after 3 years, it was worth it. Like,
okay.
Right.
Do you think that they're
in the NFL for 3 years?
Do you think, this might be a weird question, do you think that Bijan may not have the same value to a team like the Texans because they already have a guy who I'll say is a pretty solid young running back? Like, does he give you that much more?
This is the other thing, and I don't want to disrespect Dameon Pierce. I like Dameon Pierce, but James Robinson had a better rookie year than Dameon Pierce with Jacksonville. Like, he had a better rookie year, and he stayed healthy the whole time. And the thing about Dameon Pierce is he had less than 330 carries in 4 years at Florida. And then they gave him like 229 this year through 12 games, and he kind of wore down. It's like I compare Dameon Pierce. He's the same height and weight as Marion Barber, who was with the Cowboys. And Marion Barber, like when they first had Marion Barber and they were just using him as like the change of pace guy, and he was the guy that wore teams down and stuff like that, and he was still close to 1,000 yards, it was an elite weapon. Then they tried to turn Marion Barber into an every down running back, and he kind of wore down and he wasn't as effective. I think that I don't know that Dameon Pierce is a guy that you can just hand the ball to 20 times a game for 16 games and be okay with that. And James Robinson fell off, but they drafted Travis Etienne. Unfortunately for them, after he was out for his rookie year, seems like Jacksonville has one of the best running backs in the league.
On this, we agree. I just wonder if the appropriate, like, I think we all agree that they need a second running back to go with Dameon Pierce or somebody to go above him and you kind of mix them in. But is the investment at 12 something that like that's a really high investment? That's a Deshaun Watson draft pick. That is the part that I wonder about.
It's also extra, Mike. Like if they just had pick
Landry,
12,
there's no extra for this team. There's no extra for this team.
It's extra pick.
There's no extra. They need, dude. I'm pissed about that stupid.
Mike, if it was just 12, then I probably wouldn't be saying it like this. It's extra.
I'm still pissed about losing that 5th rounder because of Jack Easterby's incompetence with that Houstonian nonsense from 2020. That's
really
that good.
That pissed you off?
That annoyed me a little bit. They need every pick they can get. They need every pick they can get, for God's sake. They need every pick.
Is there at 33?
Yeah, maybe. Probably. Yeah, I think he will be. Yes. I'll say yes. Yes.
Okay. So if Gibbs is there at 33, then I think you got to consider that.
Yeah. And this is the thing. Like, and that's it's like late at night. So I'm probably struggling to like make a lot of sense because I've been thinking all day. But that's the thing. You can draft a premium position at 12. Is the difference between that premium position and the next guy at that position bigger than the differential between Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, 12 versus 33. That's kind of what you're analyzing.
Yeah, and there's also some good but after Gibbs and Robinson, then it's just like, who knows?
People like the guy from Tulane, Tajay Sharp.
Whatever. Some people like Charbonnet. Some people like A-Chain.
Yeah, some people like A-Chain, yeah.
Ryan says, weren't you saying overpay Pollard? I was, but here's the difference between Pollard and like, say, McCaffrey or Saquon or someone else. He doesn't have a lot of use. So before he got hurt, like Tony Pollard, when he started, like Spears. It was a statistical fact that he was one of the best running backs in the NFL when he started. Like that's not my opinion. That's what the numbers said. So if you were signing Tony Pollard to like say, I don't know, 4 years, 55, 60 million. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what a good contract is for a running back, but a lot. Your eyebrows raised up just at the thought of that, Mike. You almost like jumped out of your chair. But you were signing someone who, when he played, was the best running back in the league, but he had like little use. And that was before he got hurt. And even then, the Cowboys still franchise tagged him.
Yes. Pollard is a little bit like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. Like when he runs, it's great, but like anything that's off, you got to like take that thing off the road. Like he cannot handle the wear and tear is the issue with him. But yeah, he was their best offensive player along with Lamb.
They might let him carry it this year though.
Yeah, but they'll need more help. It's an interesting discussion because of how talented Robinson is and the fact that he's clearly a 3-down player.
Hey, be sure to subscribe and like. It's a big favor to me, and I really appreciate it. And it's daily content. John Weeks joining tomorrow. K Murphy asks, why not get a top tier tight end at 12, a game changer? I am opposed to drafting a tight end early. Like for as much as people talk about running backs, I can at least point to some examples. I challenge anyone, like give me examples of times where a tight end, and look, this might be like simple-minded. Like if Gronk had gone top 15 or Kelsey or something, we would be saying something different. That was never a possibility. But give me a time when a tight end is drafted like in the top 15 and it ever really works out. Like you can go through like the list. It does, like Eric Ebron, Kellen Winslow, Vernon Davis.
As much as I love
Tyler Eifert, like
as much as I love the talent of Kyle Pitts,
Kyle Pitts was a freaking wide receiver.
And he hasn't been that productive yet, which I think is more their fault than his, but that illustrates how hard it is.
He also got hard. Banged up a little bit, and they got the quarterback issue.
OJ Howard.
Good. Bust. I mean, like
OJ, our guy.
Yeah, the juice man. 2 touchdowns off the bat, and then he just went into hibernation.
I like that move too.
But there are some good tight ends. I would not take them at 12. I've heard like there's so many
100%.
people talking about. There's so many people talking about the talent at tight end though.
That to me is more about 33. I agree. I'm not taking them at 12. A tight end. I would take one later.
I think it's about using the 2 third-round picks to trade up for a tight end. Now, I don't know when the run happens, though. That's the one thing. Like, when does the tight end
late first round
thing
Mayer,
happen?
Kincaid, people like Sam Laporte a lot out of Iowa who played on a horrific offense but was good. Darnell Washington. Pete Prisco's kind of down on him, by the way.
On who? Pete Prisco's down on everything.
Darnell Washington.
Why?
He said he's not nearly as good of a blocker as his frame would indicate that he is. That he reaches a lot and he's not really a good receiver. That was his take.
I would love to see that. He looked pretty good running routes at the combine.
He did. Yeah. He's not as good as the other Georgia tight end.
The best receiving tight end is Kincaid. It seems like everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
He's been playing football for 5 years. He was a basketball player. Just decided to play football. Those are I feel like those are the type of people you hate, though.
No, not at all. I mean,
no, you hate when someone just lucks into like an elite skill. They said the story is that he was an all-state basketball player, like AAU, and then his friend said, "Hey, come play football his senior year," and he goes there and he just dominates.
No, I kind of like the Antonio Gates style, like turn the power forward into a tight end because you're playing a different sport. You got good footwork. You got good hands, hopefully most of the time. I actually like those kind of prospects. And I watched a bunch of Utah this past season. When he was on, and he was banged up at points this year, but he was like a vacuum as far as receptions went.
Unguardable. Questions from the folks. And put them in if you want to get them in. Late OP, does the Woods signing affect pick 12 now? I would say no, it will not, and it should not. Travis Weatherspoon, Cooks needs to stop tweeting. He's getting killed in his own comments. I almost feel like he's enjoying this, and he's going to use a Bible verse against all you haters. Joe S., Panthers going AR, watch. If they go Anthony Richardson, it is going to be the most viral opening of a draft ever.
Yeah. Well, we'll know before that, but yes.
Matt says, do you like Bijan at 12 with the Texans getting Woods? Meltzer thinks Bijan sucks. I like Bijan at 12.
Why do people think that Robert Woods, a guy who's going into his 11th season, should have any impact on the number 12 pick in the draft? Guys, we gotta chill out here. Like, it could be a nice signing, but geez, like, it should have nothing to do with number 12 at all. At all.
Brandon, what do our 3 picks look like now? Bryce, JSN, Nolan Smith before the combine, or I really like Trenton Simpson. I don't think Nolan Smith's going that early. I know it was a good combine, but I think I mean that seems a little bit early. You like Simpson as a lot? Why is this the weakest linebacker draft ever?
I haven't thought about it.
I mean, when are we even hearing about linebackers like Simpson? Simpson, he's
Sanders.
he's the Clemson guy, 22. He wear number 22. They had a good defense, and he was one of the leaders. But
yeah, you haven't heard a lot about linebackers.
I like him though. I'm sure D'Amico likes some backers. I actually think they're going to be. I think they're going to sign a backer in free agency. I don't think they're going to roll with.
I agree.
Kirko.
Can I ask you a quick question?
You can ask me as many questions as you want, Mike. It's Friday night, baby.
When the Texans draft Bryce Young in a month and a half, and he has his introductory news conference the next day at NRG, give me the top 2 questions that you would want to ask Bryce Young.
That I would want to ask Bryce Young. Like, is there anything like controversial? What do you make?
I got one.
All right, go.
People are going to hate this question, and nobody would ever ask this question, but it's something I would kind of wonder if somebody asked. I would want to know, I would actually phrase it this way. Bryce, 6 years ago, this organization drafted Deshaun Watson, and he gave up on the franchise 3.5 years later. How do you convince people that you are going to, I'm thinking about the second part of this.
Oh my God.
I would ask him something like that. Like, why should people believe? Or what would you say? I'm going to do this. I'm going to brainstorm out loud. Man. Let me rephrase it. I have a new question. I'm probably getting killed in the comments. I have a new question. Bryce, this organization drafted Deshaun Watson 6 years ago, and it ended horribly. Moving forward,
oh my God.
Why? Tell people why you should believe in Bryce Young as a Houston Texan.
My question would be, you were the second quarterback selected in this draft. Do you believe that the Texans got the top quarterback in this draft?
That's a good one. I like it.
That would be my first one. He's not a controversial guy, man.
No, he's not.
Not a controversial guy. People do not like your question, sir.
That's fair. I executed it terribly. It made sense in my mind. I should have written it down.
We did a question role play today on the show. We did we did McLean, Aaron Wilson, Cole Thompson, and Mark Berman. It was an imaginary if Aaron Rodgers came to the Texans, what would the first questions be? And like the Mark Berman was, shout out to the GOAT of Houston media, in my opinion. I think he's the best of all time. And Berman knows I love him. I think he's the man. But the Berman one for me was, hey, Aaron, D'Amico Ryan said that in 2007, when you faced him on the field, that you threw the pass about as crisp as any quarterback he'd ever faced. How does that make you feel? Then John McClain's question was, Aaron, a lot of people have talked about your stance on the vaccine. How do you feel about that? Or something like I forgot what B. Scott said. It was something like, No, B. Scott's was, Aaron, you've been kind of wishy-washy the last 2 years when it comes to your decision. Are you in for this on the long run? Why should fans feel like you're in for this on the long run?
I like it. By the way, what was there more of a stretch this week, Landry, than Mike Florio being like, Aaron Rodgers, a skeptic of the COVID vaccine, what if he's taking checks from Woody Johnson, who inherited Johnson & Johnson? Like, what kind of
Dude, did you see him try to say that Slowick
yes.
tampered? Dude, he literally got asked about Jimmy Garoppolo and said Jimmy Garoppolo's a free agent, so obviously he's part of that process. I can't hate on Florio too much because I think his website is like one of the best resources for archiving the league and going around, but he does get out of control sometimes.
Yeah, he can stretch a little bit.
But
he can stretch pretty far.
You need Pro Football Talk in your life because they follow the whole league.
Oh, absolutely.
But you got to be able to say when this is ridiculous.
Yes.
That was ridiculous. Brown Chubby Bear says that's the worst question he's ever heard. Cole Thompson's question was like a bunch of stats.
I think he might have been referring to my question, which I couldn't properly articulate 3 minutes ago.
Have you ever heard?
Which I will take the blame.
Have you ever heard Cole Thompson ask a question?
I think so. I had Cole on my show last week. He's good.
Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. But like my Cole Thompson question was, I love Cole. But it was like, hey, Aaron, you were 76.8% completion percentage indoors last year. NRG is an indoor stadium, but when you go in the sun, in the heat, when it's like 97 degrees, your completion percentage drops to 71.8. What do you think about that? What do you make of that? He's always like putting all these stats in the damn questions. God, we need a good press conference. I
think we should have one here pretty shortly. Here is my sense.
Blue Boy 5'9", with us signing Robert Woods, should the Texans lean more towards defense in the draft? What
are we doing? Why do we keep doing this? Why do we keep acting like the signing Robert Woods have any impact on the draft?
We're acting like they traded for Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, what are we doing here? They signed a guy who is entering his 11th season. We got to calm down here. We got to calm down.
Do y'all think Adam Thielen has anything left in the tank?
Yes.
I think he does. I think he'll find a good situation. I think there's a lot of good situations for Adam Thielen. A lot of people could use Adam Thielen's. Maybe he can go to Cleveland or something like that. Michael Meyer from Mayer, I'm assuming Sam from Notre Dame, the tight end.
Yes.
Good player.
Very good player. Yes, very good player.
JRG says Deuce Vaughn is 5'6".
Yeah, but I think he's going to be good.
He's actually 5'5".
Yeah. What is he like? The smallest player in the history of the combine? Something like that?
Ever.
Yeah.
Lamont, Landry, Mike, will the Texans have a Niner Eagle free agent on their squad in 2023? Yes.
I think they will. Yes. I think so.
I would say both. For sure. What about Christian Gonzalez at 12?
Well, is he expected to be there at number 12? Because I see him mocked all over the place at like 6, 7, 8 in that range. If he was there, I would think about it.
Do you want to draft a corner?
Not really, but if he's there, I'd think about it.
I'm not saying that. Next year it's going to be one of the top needs. So if you want to play chess and you want to think long term, and I'm all about playing chess, maybe. Do you like him better than Porter?
Joey Porter
Jr.? Does that make you feel old?
Not actually. That does not. I'll be honest here. I watch more of Porter play than Gonzalez. I can't sit here and honestly tell you I'm sitting here watching like every Oregon game and Gonzalez is way better than Porter and vice versa. I like both guys from what I can tell. I've watched Porter more. I can't sit here and like honestly give you like a full breakdown between them as cornerbacks.
Yeah, I mean, if they think he's a really like starting corner, then maybe you do. I don't know. Nicky wants to tank one more. They didn't tank, man. Like
they've never tried to tank.
If they would have tanked, they wouldn't have lost to the damn or beat the damn Colts. Quit saying they tanked. Lamont says, "Is this like Andre Johnson signing with the Colts? The Robert Woods? I don't even know if it's that big.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's at that level, honestly.
I like Robert Woods.
Yeah, I think it's, you pick up a veteran for some money. I think they overpaid a little bit to be hopefully like the third receiver on the team, although I fear he might be like the second or first. But no, it's not something like the draft strategy is about the next 3 to 5 years. It has nothing to do with just this season. Hello, Pacey.
She's giving me an evil eye over here. Like I'm like some sort of
random question. Landry, how much of a disaster would it be if I got a dog? Like how horrible
kind of dog? That's important.
That is important. I actually kind of I like the medium size.
Hey, what kind of dog should Mike get, Holly?
These are the questions.
He's very, very messy and irresponsible. He's
Hey,
responsible and irresponsible. Although your room looks clean. Your office looks clean. What kind?
You know, it's fun.
She says you should get a Frenchie.
Yeah, but don't they have health issues? That kind of worries me. Like the breathing.
No, you gotta go by the nose, because the breathing thing is good. Sometimes they have a leg.
That's key. Sometimes they have a leg.
Sometimes their legs come out bad, but they grow out.
Ryan Justice has a much better version of the question I was trying and ineptly unable to ask a few minutes ago. Good job by Ryan.
What do you think about Robert Woods? Nothing. She's pissed. She's pissed now.
She seems uncertain about it.
She's a little upset.
She seems uncertain. I do have a maid, by the way, that comes every 3 weeks. Necessary.
Look at you, Mike. That is lawyer money right there, Holmes.
No, I've had it before. I get lazy.
Get you a Frenchie, man. Or Golden Doodle. Golden Doodles are smart. They're easy to train.
Yeah, they seem fun. Yeah.
Get you a trainer, man. What kind of dog do you think Nick Caserio has? I want to start asking people what kind of Desmond King has 3 Frenchies. I talked to him about Frenchies.
Okay. Fair.
I could see you with a pug.
Yeah. The thing is, I never grew up with dogs. And so the idea of me getting a dog would be like a real big move. The problem is I'm at work too long. That's the
dogs
issue.
Kind of freak me out.
What kind?
Dalmatians, man. Is that weird?
No. I mean, some dogs just kind of
no disrespect if you have a Dalmatian. I just like Dalmatians kind of freak me out a little bit.
The look freaks you out. Yeah, I get that.
Like, I'm just like, man, I don't know if that thing's going to be nice. I don't know if it's going to be mean. Like,
I'm thinking about a mutual friend of ours who has now like 4 dogs in his house, and I don't think should have 4 dogs.
You talking about Hammond?
Yes.
He just keeps adopting them, man.
Just keeps adopting dogs.
Just keeps adopting dogs. They're all on the couch and stuff. 4.
Yes.
A ton. All right. So tomorrow, John Weeks. If y'all have questions for John Weeks, just come in. Ask. 4 o'clock. That's the whole point of this locker room. Subscribe, like. Much appreciated. Appreciate everyone for riding along. You can hear me 10 to 2 Central on Sports Radio 610 in the Odyssey app. You can hear Meltzer on Mad Dog Radio. Are you on tomorrow?
I am on tomorrow, 10 to 2 Central Time.
What's the start?
You know the start. We're going to talk about Carolina trading up for the #1 pick. And I randomly have the head coach of the Colgate men's basketball team on tomorrow as well.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to have Carl Dukes in Atlanta because I am baffled by why the Falcons are not trading for Lamar Jackson.
That's awesome.
Baffled. Yeah.
That's awesome. Got some Van Ness. We'll get into the Van Ness, the draft talk. Lamont says he has 3 boxers and 1 teacup Yorkie, and he's getting into bullies now. We had my girl had a English bulldog that was a badass. Her name was Reagan. She was very stubborn. But appreciate you guys. Subscribe, like, ride along at Landry Locker. Like to interact, like to cuss, like to discuss. Stuff is fun. Melty, appreciate you, man.
Have a good night.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Talk to y'all tomorrow, 4 o'clock, John Weeks. And always remember, no matter what happens with the Texans, man, the vibes are better. Man, they're better. What a good day today was, we think. Stay tuned. Sports are fluid. Shout out to Jean-Jacques Taylor for teaching me that. But no matter what happens, we're all in this together. Appreciate y'all.